returned from a congressional delegation visit to China and Japan. We left Washington, D.C. Last weekend and arrived in Beijing Sunday evening a week ago. We started with Monday meetings in Beijing, where we had a chance to have a really historic meeting to meet with China's Premier, Li Keqiang, as well as the chairman of the National People's Congress, which is Zhang Dezhang. When you think about the org chart in China, Premier Li is the number 2 leader in China, and Chairman Zhang Dezhang would be the number 3 leader, with President Xi Jinping being number 1. And our visit, of course, came right after the historic meeting that President Trump and President Xi Jinping had at Mar-a-Lago in Florida on the prior Thursday, Friday. So we were in Beijing Sunday night and then met Monday morning with the Chinese leadership, focusing really on a couple of things. One is U.S. trade and access for U.S. products into the China market. Specifically, I was focused on ag products and even more specifically on beef. While we were there with Premier Li, when I concluded the meeting and our discussions about finalizing the agreement to get U.S. beef into China, following a 13-year ban on U.S. beef imports, the second largest beef import market in the world. Following the meeting, we unveiled a little Coleman cooler that we had brought with us. We'd hand carried it, and inside of that Coleman cooler were 4 beautiful Montana steaks that came from Fred Wacker of Miles City. I had met with Fred prior to the visit a few weeks earlier, and I said, Fred, is there any way I could hand carry some Montana beef from your ranch and take it there to Beijing? And we were able to do that, and I presented the Premier 4 beautiful Montana steaks, as well as a little Montana beef pin. It's a U.S. flag in the shape of a cow, and then I gave him a picture, a photograph that Fred Wacker gave me of Fred's ranch, so the Premier could see literally where those calves were born, where they grew up, and in fact, the Premier looked at the picture of Fred Wacker, and in broken English, he said, "Is that a cowboy?" And I said, "Yes, that's a Montana cowboy right there, Fred Wacker." So anyway, we're going to continue to work to finalize the agreement to get U.S. beef into China. It's part of the 100-day action plan that President Xi Jinping and President Trump agreed to in Mar-a-Lago a week ago. And really one of the last outstanding barriers will be getting the new Secretary of Agriculture confirmed. That's something we talked about in China with the Chinese leaders. Sonny Perdue is planned to be confirmed by the U.S. Senate as the next Secretary of Agriculture when we return on Monday, April 24th. We also talked about the serious threat of North Korea and the importance of working together between China and the United States to apply pressures there to end their nuclear program. Vice President Pence is in Korea today. He is conveying a similar message that we conveyed to the Asian countries of the importance of working together here to end the North Korean nuclear and missile program. We then continued we went to Lhasa, Tibet, where we had meetings with their high-level leaders, their governor, and talked about the importance of access for American companies and businesses into some of the infrastructure projects going on in Tibet. They're building a new airport, for example, in Lhasa, and we want to make sure American companies have the ability to compete and to win those important contracts going forward. We stopped in Hong Kong next and met with Carrie Lam. Carrie Lam is the new elected they call it CEO. It's really the president or governor of Hong Kong, but their term is their chief executive officer. She was elected in March. She'll take office on July 1st, and we had a chance to meet with her. President Xi Jinping will fly to Hong Kong on July 1st and swear her in. But again, talked about the important relationship that Hong Kong and the United States has and the importance of trade, continuing to develop our markets. China, but Hong Kong has been a strategic trading partner for us for many, many years, and is one way to access markets in China. We finished up with a visit in Tokyo, again, talking about the importance of trade and in this post-TPP world that we're in, and moving forward with a bilateral trade agreement between the United States and Japan. We met with Mr. Seiko, who is the Minister of Trade and Agriculture. We were not able to meet with Prime Minister Abe because he was out of town that day at a memorial service for the Kumamoto earthquake that occurred on April 14th. It was the one-year anniversary, and he had to be there at a memorial service. But we met with Abe's really number two guy there. And as you all know, Japan is Montana's number one international wheat market. So it was continuing to focus on what we can do here to expand Montana ag exports into Japan, and then working on the next steps post-TPP on a bilateral trade agreement with Japan. In TPP, there were significant reductions in tariffs on U.S. beef, dropping from tariffs in excess of 30% down to about 9%. We want to continue that kind of progress with a good bilateral agreement with Japan as the Trump administration moves forward with these trade deals later this year. And again, in every place that we stopped, North Korea did come up, and we talked about the important role that China and Japan play with ending the nuclear program there in North Korea. If you recall, those missiles that were launched a couple weeks ago, North Korea were pointed actually at Japan. So the Japanese are very, very concerned about what's going on in North Korea, as are the Chinese. And we were very direct in asking the Chinese to help us with trade sanctions and so forth with North Korea, because China is North Korea's largest trading partner. About 90% of North Korea's trade occurs with China, so they'll be very key here in terms of sanctions and using trade as a lever to stop the nuclear program there in North Korea.